Welcome to this installment of Get to Know Your Warrior football program. I'm Sports Information Director Jeff Weiss, and joined today by wide receivers coach Chris Calley. Coach, thanks for joining us. Obviously good to talk about the wide receivers, especially when you've got somebody at the top of the lineup named Darius Roberson.
Absolutely.
I mean, 8 touchdown catches last year, averaged over 20 yards a catch. That's quite a junior season.
Oh, no question. I mean, he was definitely explosive and a kid who you have to pay attention to defensively. He's just a guy who stretches the field and does so much for us, even in the run game. When you have to respect that type of speed, it really opens everything up offensively, and definitely looking forward to him taking even bigger steps moving forward.
You had a couple of other guys that stepped up and made some catches last year: Rajon Williams-Jackson, Kyle Lewis, and then you've got some other guys, Marcus Bailey, who's been in the system for a while. What do you expect from that trio this year?
Well, I think those guys have all been working really, really hard. I've seen a lot of progress in this offseason. It's kind of tough last year coming in so close to the season.
Mm-hmm.
Basically I was a couple days ahead of them in the playbook. But we've made a lot of progress, and those guys work really, really hard. Some of the best stories of the year for me personally, Kyle Lewis coming back from all those horrific injuries, ends up being a special mention, honorable first-team all-conference honorable mention kid, and really surprised by that, but really proud of him as well. Rajon has just been a solid workhorse. He had the most reps all spring ball. And then obviously, like I said, you have Marcus and guys that have been in the system, and really looking forward to them taking that next step as well.
You have a couple of young guys that redshirted last year as true freshmen, Nolan Kimmey and Steve Mason. Obviously looking for them to take the next step and be a contributor.
Oh, absolutely. And, I mean, with those two guys, you're talking about very specific skill sets. Nolan is another kid who can stretch the field. He's a big physical kid. Big hands, strong hands, catches the ball really well, and he made a lot of progress in the spring. Was actually getting some first-team reps, and had great progress. He ran into some bumps and bruises, so that kind of derailed it a little bit. But working really hard and really looking forward to him taking the next step. Steve is a kid who can do anything in the slot. He's got great feet, good hands, runs good routes. So really looking for him to be that kind of underneath guy who can get us a first down and really present a problem horizontally on the field.
You recruited 4 freshmen. That seems like a lot for a wide receiver. You must
It's
have
a
been in
lot.
Coach Winter's ear quite a bit. But you've got Jesse Pruitt, Darren King, who's the son of a former Tartar.
Absolutely.
Trevante Davis, and then Max Nicklin, whose older brother Noah's on the offensive line. So
Absolutely.
obviously you got some family connections coming in at wide receiver as well.
We do, and 4 is a big class for us, obviously wide receiver-wise. Now we did lose a few guys, obviously, from this past year, so you can't replace that type of person. But in terms of bringing good people in, you want to make sure you have the right guys.
Yeah, Corey Esther was the ultimate team player.
He is the ultimate leader of the room. It really was interesting to see this spring ball of Corey not being here and guys having to step up and kind of unsure of what that's like because they've never had to be in that role. And those 4 young guys we brought in are outstanding. Trey Davis, out of Flint, is just an all-around athlete. You look at the kid and you think he's a middle linebacker. Then you watch him run, you're like, okay, I get it, I see it. Darren King, again, a super high ceiling type kid. He was a kid who I see can be, just a long, explosive, touchdown maker for sure. Jesse Pruitt was kind of the surprise out of Columbus. We had to fight for him really hard in recruiting, and he's also that kid where I think his ceiling is just so high that he can end up being up there with the Troy Burrells of the world, the Darius Robersons, being really great Wayne State receivers. And then Max Nicklin, he's the ultimate. He's a linebacker in a receiver's body. The kid's physical. He loves contact. Half his highlight film is blocking. He's that type of kid and a guy who really fits with what we're trying to do wide receiver-wise for sure.
And obviously, Tyler Blazek's going to miss this year with an injury, and you've got Cameron Ford in the mix too. So it sounds like you've got a good group to work with this year.
Oh, absolutely. And, obviously the thing with Blaze is unfortunate. He's another guy who was a quiet leader in the room. The receivers told me forever that Blaze is not as quiet as you think, Coach. He's tricking everybody. And as I got to know him, that's definitely true. He's very quiet, but he's definitely one of those guys that they look forward to seeing and talking to and leading the group. So he'll be sorely missed, but he's around with us and helping us out a little bit. And then Cam Ford is a kid where, he's got so much potential. It's outstanding. I think at the end of the day, we've got to get on the same page in terms of really giving him a path to success. I think right now he's still trying to look for his specific niche and role, but he's a kid who I could easily see going out there on Saturdays and putting up some really big numbers.
Sounds great. Well, thanks for watching this edition of Get to Know Your Wayne State football program.